These nickels may only say 5 cents, but their real value? You won't believe what collectors are paying today. Hidden mistakes and rare variations have turned everyday coins into some of the most sought-after treasures in the collecting world. Make sure to watch till the end, and let's uncover these incredible stories together. Unbelievable. A 5-cent coin, plain and ordinary to most people, has taken the numismatic world by storm. It's not gold. It's not silver. It's not ancient. It doesn't come with a limited mintage or some historic event attached to it. Yet today, this unassuming coin is worth a small fortune. We're talking about the 1972 Jefferson nickel, an everyday coin that's now at the center of one of the most surprising modern coin stories. At first glance, this coin looks just like millions of others. It carries the familiar left-facing profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his famous Virginia home, Monticello, on the reverse. A small D mint mark appears to the right of the building, marking it as a product of the Denver Mint. Millions of these coins were struck in 1972, hundreds of millions, in fact. They were made to be used, handled, spent, and forgotten. For decades, that's exactly what happened. But what makes one particular 1972 nickel worth tens of thousands of dollars isn't something you'll spot at a quick glance. It's not the design. It's not the date. It's the hidden story locked inside a single example of this coin, a story that combines minting precision, untouched preservation, and almost impossible rarity. It's the kind of story that makes your heart race just a little when you dig through a pile of change or crack open an old roll of coins. The 1970s were a busy time at the U.S. Mint. Machines ran constantly, pumping out coins for everyday use. Nickels, in particular, were produced in enormous numbers. Quality control was decent, but far from perfect. Dies became overused. Metal blanks sometimes shifted during strikes. Tiny errors slipped through, barely noticeable to the public, but incredibly meaningful to collectors. And that's where the story begins. Among the flood of 1972 nickels, a few coins came out a little different. Some showed subtle die cracks. Others had slight doubling in the lettering. Some even had repunched mint marks, small errors that, while not dramatic, add curiosity and value in the right condition. But beyond the errors, there was something even rarer, the perfect strike. You see, most business strike nickels from this era show signs of wear almost immediately. Even when freshly minted, many left the press with minor blemishes, weak edges, soft details, or bag marks from contact with other coins. It's normal. It's expected. But once in a great while, a coin escapes all of that. It's struck with fresh dies. It lands gently, avoiding scratches. It's handled carefully, maybe even pulled aside by a sharp-eyed collector early on. And then, it disappears into storage, protected from the damage of time. That's exactly what happened with one particular 1972 Jefferson nickel. This coin somehow avoided everything that usually degrades a coin's grade. It retained sharp strike details. Jefferson's facial features were clean and defined. The lettering was bold. Monticello's columns stood out with unusual clarity. The fields, the smooth areas around the design, were free of distractions. The coin gleamed with its original mint luster. No fingerprints, no haze, no spots. It looked, in a word, perfect. When that coin was finally submitted to a professional grading service, experts knew right away it was something special. It came back with a grade of MS 67, Mint State 67. For reference, that's an extremely high grade for a regular issue nickel, especially one from this era. It's the kind of result that happens in less than a fraction of a percent. Coins graded at this level aren't just rare, they're elite. And that's what made all the difference. Because when a coin is the best, or one of the best, it attracts serious attention. Especially from registry set collectors, who compete to assemble the highest graded sets of each coin ever made. For them, it's not enough to have the coin. They want the finest known example. And when one shows up at auction, they're ready to pay whatever it takes. In this case, they paid a lot. This one 1972 D nickel, made for circulation, struck over 50 years ago, and originally worth just 5 cents, became a modern-day legend. Collectors recognized its rarity. The bidding intensified. And finally, in a moment that shocked even seasoned dealers, the coin sold for an astounding $76,000. Yes. $76,000. For a single nickel. Somewhere out there, another high-grade 1972 D nickel might still exist. It could be sitting quietly in a forgotten coin collection. It could be tucked inside an old roll, never opened. It might even be in someone's change jar right now, waiting to be discovered. That's the thrill of coin collecting, you never know when or where the next big find will come from. So the next time you come across a handful of nickels, take a second look. Don't just glance at the date. Look at the details. Check for sharpness. Look for unusual features. Pay attention to that little D mint mark. Because while most nickels are just spare change, one could be a hidden treasure. The next coin might just be the most unexpected find of the day. It's a simple 5-cent piece from the early 1980s, a time when few people were paying close attention to their pocket change. But hidden within that ordinary year, from a coin struck in Philadelphia, lies a rare and fascinating error that has shocked even experienced collectors. This is the 1983 P. Jefferson nickel. And one specific version of it has made its way into the spotlight, for all the right reasons. On the surface, it looks like just another nickel. Same classic design. Thomas Jefferson's familiar portrait on the front. Monticello, standing tall and symmetrical on the back. No flashy colors, no fancy material, and certainly nothing that screams rarity to the casual eye. But sometimes, the most valuable discoveries are the ones that appear completely normal, until you take a closer look. The Philadelphia Mint produced millions of nickels in 1983. These coins were struck on standard copper-nickel planchets and released into circulation without much thought. But somewhere in that sea of nickels, an unusual error occurred. And this time, it wasn't a crack or a simple misalignment. It was something far more striking, something that turned a basic coin into a collector's dream. One of these coins was struck with an off-metal error. That means it was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different coin. Instead of the standard 5-gram nickel composition, it was minted on a thinner, lighter blank, one that didn't belong under that die. And just like that, a regular 5-cent coin became something entirely different. To the trained eye, the differences are subtle but clear. The coin feels slightly lighter. The sound when dropped is different. The edges may appear slightly off. And under magnification, you can spot the physical signs that the metal was never meant to match the die used. It's a mistake the mint didn't catch, and the public never noticed. But collectors? They notice everything. It's rare for a coin like this to even survive. Most errors get melted down, pulled from circulation, or simply vanish without a trace. But this one slipped through, unnoticed, quietly making its way into the world. And somehow, against all odds, it remained preserved, without damage, without being spent, and without being lost. That's what makes this particular 1983 P nickel so valuable. It isn't just the error itself, it's the fact that it's in remarkably sharp condition, showcasing every detail with clarity, while carrying the undeniable signs of being struck on the wrong metal. It's a combination that collectors rarely see and always chase. This coin tells a silent story. One of chance, error, and survival. It represents a mistake that no machine could predict, and no human expected. That's why it stands alone. And its rarity doesn't end with the error. Coins like this are nearly impossible to replicate. You can't make another. You can only hope to find one. Coins like this don't come with loud warnings or labels. They don't shine like gold or glitter like silver. They sit quietly in drawers and jars, waiting to be found. And when they are, the reaction is always the same: disbelief. It could have been spent on candy, lost in a parking lot, or mixed into a vending machine. But somehow, this one survived long enough to be discovered for what it truly was. That's the magic of coin collecting. It's not just about age or metal. It's about moments, mistakes, and miracles. How could something so simple be worth so much? Because in the world of coin collecting, mistakes are everything. Not the kind you regret, but the kind that turn everyday items into rare treasures. A momentary lapse in a minting facility, a blank meant for another denomination, a strike that went unnoticed. These moments are pure gold for collectors, because they cannot be recreated. And while most 1983 p nickels are exactly what you'd expect, ordinary, worn, and worth just 5 cents, this one stands alone. It's a 1 in a million kind of find. And now, it's one of the most valuable error nickels ever recorded. So, how much is it worth? This 5-cent piece, quiet, humble, and nearly forgotten, has been valued at an astonishing $68,000. Yes, $68,000. For a nickel. This is the power of a true mint error combined with rarity and condition. It's why collectors keep searching. It's why drawers of change are still being dumped out and inspected, coin by coin. Because you never know when a mistake might turn into a miracle. And the next time you hold a 1983 p nickel in your hand, look again. Check the weight. Examine the surface. Feel the metal. Because one simple error could make it worth more than anyone ever imagined. Up next, a 5-cent coin from the 1990s that most people would overlook. But one error turned it into a modern legend, a small mistake that transformed an everyday nickel into a discovery worth thousands. We're talking about the 1994 p Jefferson nickel. From the outside, it looks exactly like every other nickel made that year. You've probably spent one. You might have a few in your change jar right now. But beneath the surface of this particular coin lies a detail so rare, so easy to miss, that only the sharpest collectors would ever catch it. 1994 wasn't a particularly historic year in US coinage. There were no big changes to the nickel's design. No commemorative issues. No low mintages. In fact, the Philadelphia Mint produced almost 700 million Jefferson nickels that year. That's right, nearly 750 million coins. So how did one of them become so special? The answer lies in a quiet error that happened during minting. A planchet mix-up, one of the most valuable kinds of mistakes in modern coin collecting. In this case, the nickel was struck on a blank that was never meant for it. It wasn't made of the usual copper-nickel alloy. It was thinner, lighter, possibly from a foreign coin or another denomination altogether. The machines didn't stop. The press didn't hesitate. That wrong blank passed through the dies just like any other, receiving Jefferson's portrait on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse. From the outside, it looked like a nickel. But the weight, the metallic tone, and the edge were off, just enough to catch the attention of someone who knew what to look for. And that's the key. Most people would never notice. This wasn't a dramatic mistrike. It wasn't bent, off-center, or doubled. It didn't have a visible crack or a rotated die. To the average eye, it was just another nickel. But to someone who understands minting processes, this was a ghost, a mistake that wasn't supposed to happen, let alone survive. Planchet errors like this are rare on their own. But what made this coin even more incredible was its condition. Somehow, against the odds, this nickel stayed untouched. It wasn't spent hundreds of times. It wasn't scratched up in pockets or cash registers. It didn't get scooped up in bank rolls or tossed into parking meters. It was found early, and preserved. The surfaces remained clean. The detail on Jefferson's hair, the sharpness in Monticello's columns, the reflective fields, all of it remained intact. That's a once-in-a-generation kind of survival. Because here's what happens to most error coins: they get missed, then circulated. And once they've been handled a few dozen times, the value drops. Condition is everything when it comes to high-end collecting. So when an error coin like this still shows signs of full mint luster, clear strike detail, and minimal contact marks, it instantly stands out. Collectors know exactly what they're seeing. And here's something else to consider: the 1990s are not that far behind us. Coins from this decade are still being used. They're still in circulation. That means this coin was quietly hiding among everyday change for years. Passed over, maybe even forgotten. It could have ended up in a vending machine. Or tossed in a car ashtray. But it didn't. It was found. Understood. And saved. It takes a trained eye and a bit of luck to catch something like this. Most people never will. They'll hold this coin, maybe even notice something feels off, and move on. That's why so few survive. And it's why, when one does, it becomes headline-worthy in the collecting world. This nickel didn't need to be old. It didn't need to be rare by mintage. Its value came from a mistake, and from the fact that this mistake escaped detection for so long. It's a perfect storm of rarity, mystery, and condition. And while most 1994 P nickels are still out there today, worth just a few cents in change, this one stands alone. It's a coin with a hidden story. A flaw that became a feature. A silent misstep by the mint that became a treasure in the hands of the right person. There was no fanfare. No news report when it left the mint. No one stopped the presses. It simply made its way out into the world, like every other coin in its batch. But fate had other plans for this one. Eventually, it was recognized for what it was. Not just a nickel, but a rare error coin in nearly flawless condition. A numismatic gem hiding in plain sight. And that quiet little coin, that 5-cent piece, unnoticed by millions, has now been valued at $49,000. No build-up. No hype. Just the truth, $49,000. That's what a single mint error, combined with careful preservation, can be worth in the hands of the right collector. So if you've got a handful of change nearby, maybe it's time to look a little closer. Because once in a while, one small mistake can turn into something absolutely unforgettable. Now let's move on to something a little more recent, and surprisingly valuable. It's a modern-day nickel. One you'd expect to find in your change from the grocery store, the gas station, or tucked away in a handful of coins under the couch cushions. The year is 2007. The U.S. Mint is deep into the Westward Journey series, and Jefferson's portrait has already seen a bold redesign. But hidden among all that modern production, a rare and quiet mistake took place, one that would turn a single coin into something worth thousands. We're talking about the 2007 D. Jefferson nickel, struck at the Denver Mint. Millions of these coins were produced. They were shiny, new, and easy to overlook. But one specific example stood out. Not because of its design, and not because of its age. But because of a minting error, one that collectors instantly recognized as rare and highly desirable. Here's what made it different. This coin was struck with a misaligned die, meaning the top and bottom dies that pressed the image into the blank were slightly off-center during the strike. But in this case, it wasn't just a minor shift. The misalignment was dramatic enough to distort the portrait of Jefferson, causing his profile to shift unnaturally to one side. The rim on one half of the coin may appear thicker, while the opposite side looks stretched or even partially missing. It's a visual flaw, but in the world of collecting, it's a visual jackpot. This isn't the kind of error you need a microscope to see. Even at a glance, it's clear that something went wrong during minting. But here's the twist: the rest of the coin is perfect. The strike is strong. The fields are clean. The surfaces are smooth. There's no sign of wear. Which tells us something important: this coin was never spent. It was pulled aside the moment it was spotted. That moment made all the difference. Because if it had entered circulation, the value would have dropped instantly. Contact with other coins, even just a little, would have dulled the sharpness, left tiny scratches, or worn down the raised details. But this one was saved. Handled with care. Preserved in a state that's incredibly rare for modern coins, especially those with visible minting errors. Now, modern coinage is often ignored by collectors chasing older or silver-era pieces. But that mindset is shifting. Errors like this are proving that even coins from the last 2 decades can hold serious value. And in some cases, they outshine older coins in rarity and demand. This particular error is even more fascinating because it's from a time of improved technology at the mint. Quality control had become tighter. Mistakes like this were supposed to be nearly impossible. And yet, here it is. Proof that no system is perfect. And that sometimes, a valuable flaw can still sneak through. Even more interesting, this coin never gained widespread fame. It didn't make headlines. It quietly became known among experienced collectors, slowly rising in value as more people began to understand just how unique it was. It stands today as a reminder that you don't need a coin from the 1800s to find value. Sometimes, something from just a few years ago can hold the kind of mistake that transforms it into a true collector's piece. The Denver Mint is one of the highest producing facilities in the world. Billions of coins come out of it every year. But this single nickel, managed to become a standout among all the rest. Not because it was rare by mintage, but because a brief second of machine misalignment created a treasure. This coin's value doesn't come from age or metal content. It comes from the mistake, and the fact that it survived in flawless shape. It tells a story of a split-second failure in the minting process, frozen forever in metal. A portrait shifted, a rim misaligned, and a coin forever marked by the moment it was struck just slightly wrong. From 5 cents, to a small fortune. This 2007 Jefferson nickel, once just an ordinary coin from Denver, is now known among collectors for its unique error and incredible condition. Its current value has been estimated at a staggering $35,000. It's the kind of find that reminds us why we still check our change. Because in every pocket, drawer, and dusty coin jar, there might be something incredible waiting, just like this. Sometimes, the rarest treasures aren't locked away in vaults or display cases. They're hiding in plain sight, passed from hand to hand, unnoticed for years. All it takes is 1 second, one curious glance, to uncover a piece of history that slipped through the cracks. And if you happen to come across a coin like one of the 4 we featured today, hold on to it. You might just be the next lucky collector. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe for more rare coin finds and valuable tips. And if you think you have a coin like one of these in your collection, or even something close, drop a comment below. We'd love to hear what you found. Thanks for watching, and happy hunting.